On this episode of the Welloff Podcast, we welcome Vanessa Reiser, narcissist and cult abuse expert.
And we already talked to Dr. Z in the beginning of our season, so we are closing out season 3 with another narcissist abuse expert because I know I'm a victim of narcissistic abuse. How about you, Tara?
Well, now I do. So I think you will not want to miss this episode because narcissists are everywhere.
Welcome back to the iHeartMedia studios. We are live in Hartford, Connecticut. I'm Gina Sim.
And I'm Dr. Tara.
Thanks for coming up, Dr. Tara. We love having you here.
I love coming here. I just don't like Connecticut traffic.
Yeah,
not
Merritt
good for
Parkway
me.
is kind of a bit of a beast.
We started season 3 with Dr. Z, who is a narcissist expert.
Yes.
And I think our listeners know that you have been through it. You dated a narcissist for a long time, and one of the things we know for sure is that it takes a long time to get over the experience.
Yeah, not get over them. That happened in like a day.
No.
It's get over the actual trauma that a narcissist puts you through. And
Yes.
I've spent, a lot of years in therapy trying to really understand what a narcissist is. And so, we had Dr. Z on and explained a lot. And, this topic is just so important and so many people are interested in it that we wanted to bring another expert on. So tell us today who we have.
I'm so excited to introduce our guest. Today in studio, we have Vanessa Reiser. Vanessa is a psychotherapist. She's a narcissist abuse expert and advocate and an author, and we're so thrilled to have you here. Welcome to the Welloff Podcast, Vanessa.
Welcome, Vanessa.
Thank you for having me.
And Vanessa drove from Jersey as well. So
She did.
Oh my
She
God.
did.
Thank
We
you for
met in the
making trip.
bathroom.
Thank you for making the trip.
No problem.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I am a psychotherapist. I specialize in narcissistic abuse and cult abuse. I am best known for my run across all of New York State in a wedding dress to raise awareness for narcissistic abuse in 2021.
Wait, we're gonna have to back up. You ran across the entire New York State in a wedding dress?
Yes.
Like ran the whole state?
Yes.
How long did that take you?
Oswego to Manhattan was 11 days, but I always say I could have done it in 10.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, it was really transformative. I was going through my own healing, but I knew I needed to make noise about this issue as a therapist, and it worked. A lot of people started to pay attention to, me on the streets, and it was kind of incredible for some people who are suffering in silence.
Yeah, absolutely.
So talk to me. I'm so curious now that Gina asked, what was the decision-making process? When did you decide this is what I'm going to do? I'm going to put on was it your wedding dress? Were you supposed to wear this dress?
I did. I was featured in the New York Times in the actual dress, and then I had other outfits modified by a good friend of mine who does dance attire. So everything was sequenced out and
Love that.
Fixed to look wedding-y with tulle and veils and everything. But it really came to me on a run, actually. And it was kind of during the COVID, era, and we were kind of trying to figure out a lot of things at that time. And I had a really bad breakup, and I was trying to figure out a way to make noise about this. I was actually enraged about what I had gone through. So it was really my own healing too, but it came to me on a run.
Wow.
So tell us a little bit about your experience with, first of all, let's explain to our listeners what is a narcissist and, how, how it's clinically diagnosed.
Well, the DSM-5 really does a terrible job of describing what it is, because they give you these 9 characteristics and then they say, okay, if you fit 5 of these, which include things like grandiose, etc., but it's really not all that it is. It's about mind control. It's about manipulation. It's about gaslighting. It's about lying. It's about overall it's about control.
Yeah.
And a lot of these pathologically disordered people are looking for just that, control.
Yeah.
And so that was something that I experienced. I was only in a relationship for a year and a half. So it was very short compared to so many of my clients, but it was such a malignant. I knew something was wrong every single day. I was like, what is wrong with you? Like, why can't you be satiated? You're always miserable. Passive aggressive, silent treatment, smear campaign, withholding. So sort of a recipe of characteristics.
Did you date my ex? we might need to compare notes. Anyway.
Yeah.
And, one of the things that I've seen clinically as a fellow psychotherapist and then as Gina's friend and knowing what she went through is that it's smart women. It's, we're not dummies. And I think that's one of the hardest things to get over, that how did this happen to me? I'm an educated woman and, right? Like, I think that's one of the biggest things. Like, how did I not know
this?
Or how, so can you touch on that a little bit? Because I think that's such a leftover.
I agree with you. I mean, I went to USC. I went to one of the, top institutions and got this really expensive brain and did all the things. And I just had no idea. I didn't learn about that, in graduate school.
Right.
I just didn't. No one was talking about that. We sort of learned about, bipolar and schizophrenia and other diagnoses.
Treatable mental illnesses, not personality disorders.
The pathological, predator was not ever anything I learned about.
Pathological predator. Now that's a name.
That's accurate.
Right? Wow. Pathological predator. Okay, sorry. Continue.
Yeah. And really the pathology in these people is that it's rigid. They don't change, and you spend a lot of your time trying to convince them, if you just do this or if you just do that, but they don't change, and that's the pathology.
Sure.
So what would you say are, we've kind of talked about red flags or things to look for. Like there's you were mentioning there's different kinds of narcissism. So like there's covert, grandiose. Like talk to us about the difference in all these different kinds, because, I'll be talking to people and they'll say, well, I don't really think they're a narcissist. And it's like, well, there's many different kinds of narcissism. So talk to us about that.
The overt is like the quintessential, like pop collar, Ferrari, Ferragamo shoes, clicking around, tons of cologne, chains. You could see this guy coming a million miles away. Love bombs, you're my soulmate, this kind of stuff. The covert is, in my opinion, far more dangerous, because these are people who are going to waste your time, decades of your life in this sort of vulnerable role. The entire time they're kind of going after you. You don't know about it. They're smearing you. They're giving you the silent treatment. They're passive aggressive, but they sort of fly under the radar.
Yeah.
And they're hard to detect, which makes it really complicated. People ask me all the time, like, how can I stay away from them? And I always say, you can't. They're everywhere. The only thing you really can do, the only remedy or way to avoid them is to have autonomy, is to stay close to your finances, your hobbies, your friends, your career. And then they will get bored and kind of move on if they can't control you.
Yeah, I know. It's like as soon as he couldn't control me anymore, it's when I gained all the control.
Yeah.
Or once I realized, like, okay, this is enough. But it was literally like every day, like you said, like something's wrong, something's not right. And to find out that it's an actual personality disorder, like I didn't even know all of this, during. And afterwards I seeing all these videos on TikTok and I'm like, wait, what? There's more people in the world that do exactly that? Like, it's mind-blowing.
It's scary because, as I mentioned, they're everywhere.
Right.
So you have to be really kind of discerning, like who you let into your realm, for sure.
One of the things that I found, and I'd love to hear your opinion, is that a lot of times we're focusing on women here. So I'm going to say when women are in relationships with narcissists, no one in their world likes this person besides them. It seems like, and everyone can't be wrong. And I feel like in these circumstances, they almost try to keep you from your people, right? And try to kind of make them your whole world. I said that right. So What are your thoughts about that, and what other dynamics do you see in relationships with narcissists?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, some of them are adept at, having this tremendously great optic.
Mm-hmm.
So these are like poets, priests, and politicians that are kissing babies and stabbing you in the back. So sometimes there's this face forward where like they're actually quite beloved in the community, which is really scary when the fallout happens, because no one believes you, because they're like this upstanding citizen. They have the perfect lawn. They have the groomed children that are, dressed
perfect
perfectly.
Dad. They're supportive.
Yeah, so sometimes, yes, they are not well liked by friends and family, but a lot of times these are people who are super liked, and that's really scary for the victims, because trying to extricate yourself from that is like you lose everyone you know. So it's just this like abandonment of all of your social systems, etc. So it really is so dynamic, because it comes in different shapes and sizes.
Sure. Now, I know, as you know, we're in the same profession, right? We're both psychotherapists, and so much of our work is not revealing a lot about ourselves, right? Making it about the client. So was that hard for you to share your story and be vulnerable?
No.
Okay.
When I first started as a therapist, I was working in the Bronx for the Jewish Board, and they had satellite programs at the Bronx High School of Science and High School of American Studies. And it was kind of like this inner city vibe. So, my clients were very interested in, yo, Miss V, what are you doing? Like this kind of thing. So I was very kind of real with my clients out of the gate. So I learned how to share some parts of my life in the beginning of my career, like that I got my GED, right? Because sometimes they were going for their GED, and I would say, well, I went to USC and I got my master's, but I dropped out of high school in 11th grade. So kind of early on, I got good at that thing, and my clients love that. So they come to me because they want to know, what did you went through this? Tell me, like, what was this like for you? And so, therapist self-disclosure, I do share parts of my story when it makes sense to do so, which it can and does. It's not all the time, but it certainly happens.
Yeah. And your breakup was public, which most people don't have to deal with. So, I mean, that just adds a whole layer of complexity to what you were dealing with.
Who were you dating? What do you mean it was public?
It's pretty Googleable.
Yeah. It's a Google.
It's a Google. Easy Google.
Are you allowed to discuss or not?
I am,
Okay.
actually, but I choose not to feed the ego.
Well, not the ego, but most people don't have to do those things in front of others, right? Unless you're in the spotlight. So, I mean, that must have added an extra layer.
It was hard because I had to learn quickly what public opinion looked like and how I needed to get ahead of a narrative, because I knew, I was told, and I believed that I was going to have my career destroyed by him, because he made me understand that. So I knew that I needed to get ahead of that with every fiber in my being. So whenever I, was able to manage the optics for myself, I learned pretty quickly that I needed to get a good media lawyer, and I needed to have like a good group of friends that would support me, like in terms of any narratives that were out there, because he would have, destroyed my career, and really tried to do that. Didn't work.
And I would imagine that's something that many women fear.
Yeah.
Whether it's their career, their reputation, finances, that fear holds them captive.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing that the narcissist exploits, though, is the children. And I was fortunate that I did not co-parent with a narcissist, but my clients mostly my clients do. And that is a nightmare of the highest order, because the judicial system is terrible, and the family court system.
Yeah.
So they are managing just the most hellish experiences I've ever seen. Some get jailed, some haven't seen their kids in years, but it's kind of pretty standard. So, we're going to be doing a run across Maryland this year with a new initiative to run and stop at the family courts, because that's really the underbelly of this, kind of
that's amazing.
problem.
This spring, Cozy Earth is reminding us that what you wear inside of your house is just important as what you wear out of it.
I mean, we're always planning on what we're wearing to work and making sure our outfits look good. But let me tell you, what I look forward to most is when I get home and can take off my work clothes and put on my comfy Cozy Earth jogger set.
I love my jogger set. It's the perfect outfit for lounging on the couch, afternoon errands, coffee in the morning, and I pair them with my super, super comfy Cozy Earth clogs.
Click your heels together 3 times, people, because you are not going to want to leave home without these. Look at how cushiony they are. They have this nice, soft material and slip resistant, and you can wear them outside, Tara.
I know. It's the perfect balance of comfort and support. So listeners, hurry, get to CozyEarth.com, put in our unique discount code, which is Cozy Welloff, for 20% discounted off heaven on your feet and on your body.
And if you get a post-purchase survey, make sure to tell them that you heard about them right here on the Welloff Podcast. Visit CozyEarth.com for comfort that you won't forget.
And remember, Cozy Earth offers a generous 10-year warranty. Their products are made to last. You have nothing to lose.
So I know, you talk about like your reputation, and, I see these sayings like, I don't care if I'm the villain in your story, you're the clown in mine. How do you advise your clients, when their name is being dragged through the mud and they're telling all these lies about you because now they can't control you anymore. And so now the only way to make themselves look good is to make up stories and tell lies about you. And, personally, I just, I use the Mel Robbins, I let them believe whatever they want. If they're believing these lies about me, then they didn't really truly know me to begin with. But what do you say to your clients that are going through that?
Yeah, I think you should try to advocate and course correct narratives when you think it's going to add value. But if your gut tells you that these people are going to believe what they want to believe about you, then to your point, don't waste your time.
Right.
But I also feel like women having a voice is so important. And we're seeing that a lot now in the press, people coming out. A lot of things are, developing because women are speaking up. And so I think on a macro scale, it's important to sound off about this stuff. I mean, people are going to think you're crazy when you do that anyway, but they're going to think you are if you don't.
Regardless,
so, have at it. And, depending, you have to protect yourself because narcissists can be extremely vindictive.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a
Do you watch Tell Me Lies, by the way?
I have.
You need to watch that show. You need to watch it. But yeah, and what would you say to someone that's trying to co-parent? What advice do you give to them about how to deal with a narcissist?
Just don't tell them things.
Okay.
I mean, to the extent that you can minimize giving them information, because anytime you engage with them, so let's say, your child has a peanut allergy and you express this to a toxic parent, all you're doing is ensuring that child is going to be given peanuts. I mean, it's literally you're giving them information that they will exploit. So I always tell my clients, just don't discuss anything with them unless the child is on fire, and then not even then. But you have to basically be a single parent because, anytime you're engaging with them, they're going to exploit that information. And the other thing that's really important is you really want to get your children to understand the difference between fact and fiction at an early age because of gaslighting.
Right.
So, little child is playing with colors. That's not red, that's blue, that's not true. You want to get them to understand what the truth is, because when they're potentially being groomed, they'll be lied to and gaslit and, become confused around things even as simple as something like the difference between red and blue.
When do you get straight with them? When do you tell the kids, hey, your dad's an asshole,
Yeah.
I don't know, do you say that? I mean, I did not have children, thank God, with my ex, but he had children. So
I think you really have to do it kind of early if it makes sense. Obviously, the courts don't allow you to do that too much, but
right.
I always say, like, you want to kind of let them know there isn't a Santa Claus as early as possible, unfortunately, because what happens is they end up growing up, figuring it out, resenting you, having all of this trauma. So it's like the ghost of Christmas future. What are they going to think eventually? You have to think about it. But it is on a case-by-case basis because of the courts. The courts find out you did that, now you can have a problem. So you have to sort of walk the line. Sometimes through, innuendo, inference, eye rolling. You have to get a little dirty in this game. You can't be neutral on a moving train. You have to kind of play the game with them.
Vanessa, let's pivot to the cult piece because I'm fascinated by that. So what are the similarities? How is it different, the cult behavior from narcissistic abuse?
Well, that's what's so compelling. And this is where, for me, the rubber hits the road in my entire career, because there is no difference. You are either in a cult of 1, a cult of 2, a cult of 5, a cult of 5 million. If you are being controlled by a narcissist, a sociopath, or a psychopath, hard stop. So you're in a cult. If you are in a relationship with a narcissist, you are in a cult. And I had that realization when I met Mark Vicente from the Nexium cult, and he was describing to me Keith Raniere, who was covert and actually rather unassuming, and I realized, oh my God, I was in a cult, and I just didn't know. And I was raised by hippies, like no one was sort of guiding me. Like I figured I was an independent thinker. Like me, I was in a cult? Are you insane? But yeah, that was a big revelation. It was one of the most incredible conversations I've ever had in my life. The most incredible conversation was to realize I was in a cult.
Wow. But what was it that made you just kind of snap into place and say, oh my gosh, I was in a cult? Like what hit you?
All of the characteristics of Keith Raniere are all of the characteristics of every single narcissist, every single sociopath. And there are often overlaps, as you know, in cluster B scenarios, but it's the same game. It's about control. It's about grooming. It's about, getting you to fall in line. And what happens with somebody who in, that kind of world like Keith Raniere is they manage to get a collective. That's really the only difference. Most, though, narcissists that I know do have somewhat of a collective, whether it's the family members and these family systems that are cultic. So it's really the same kind of thing.
This is mind-blowing. I'm sorry. I'm like, wait, what? What? I was in a cult.
It's weird.
It's weird.
It's weird.
It is.
Wow.
So I'm always thinking, Vanessa, about who's listening, right? And we tend to have a heavy audience of middle-aged women. And I'm thinking about, just kind of a profile, right? If a woman is listening right now and is thinking, oh my gosh, that's me. Like, I'm in a cult. I'm with a narcissist. What should they do?
Well, depending upon the variables, it's sometimes hard to get out. Financial reasons, children, housing. Sometimes it's hard to, disconnect. But I am always a proponent of getting away, because these relationships are relationships of inevitable harm. So even if you placate, they turn up the dial to punish you. And if you don't placate, they turn up the dial to punish you. So either way, it's trending towards disaster. And that disaster can be like death of the soul, death of the body. Like it's generally going to end in a really problematic scenario.
Have you heard of the term dictum?
I think I've seen it on social media.
It's when someone's a dick and always the victim.
Yeah.
So it's my new word. It's my new favorite word.
TikTok, did you learn on
yes,
TikTok?
I did learn it on TikTok. Yes, absolutely did. So one of the, I want to talk about red flags, obviously, and one of the red flags is somebody always being the victim and never owning up to responsibilities and placing blame. What are some more red flags? Like, so if someone, like Tara was saying, is listening and says like, oh my God, I am in a narcissistic relationship, what if someone has no idea? Like, what are some things that you could bring to light that if I would have heard, I would have been like, oh my God?
I would say love bombing in the first place is a red flag. This really is only detected when there's a devalue, though. So in the beginning of a relationship that's healthy, you're going to have the honeymoon phase and all of this. But if there's like a removal of that or a silent treatment that follows that, and it happens in a cycle. So this would look like
I wish I knew this. God.
the makeup session, the tension building, and then the fallout. The makeup session, the tension building, and then the fallout.
It's just a cycle.
Yeah, and what happens in this cycle is you develop a trauma bond where you are now addicted to the makeup session, which has been likened to an addiction to cocaine or, you know, another narcotic. So you're looking for that feeling again, that dopamine kick that you get from everything is being made okay again.
Right.
And so love bombing is a big red flag. I would say anytime you're in circular conversations with somebody or they're gaslighting you where you just remain perpetually confused, that is a red flag. And that can include projection, deflection, sort of word salad where you're kind of like, what are you talking about? Like, I remember at one point I was stuttering. I was just like, what the? Like I was just glitching out because I was in these circular conversations, like ad nauseum, just around and around. And I mean, at one point I just had to like vacate. I was like, and when he would start, I would just walk out of the room. And I think that's when he started to realize like I've lost control of her.
Yeah.
Like you had mentioned towards the end. But gaslighting is a big one. They can also cyber gaslight. So gaslighting isn't just this version that I'm saying here. It can be, you know, confusion around your playlist. Something's wrong with your playlist, or there's an email that you received that seems strange, or somebody says, I got an email from you yesterday. They can kind of make you feel crazy around anything that you're doing in your emails. They can also move your belongings around. This is another version of gaslighting.
Wow.
So I thought my hairdryer was here. That's really strange. And you begin to become confused. Anytime you begin to become confused and you know for a fact that the hairdryer was there, and you start to, you know, wonder about this kind of a thing moving or other things, and they oftentimes work in tandem, but those kinds of things. So any of those. If you become isolated, if you're not engaging with your friends or your hobbies or your family or your work, somebody who crosses boundaries, who calls you at work, texts you constantly, and it's just like this all-consuming, you know, sycophant pulling all of your energy away. Passive aggression is a big one.
Yeah.
So in those communication styles, those are important.
Wow. And easily offended.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Ego is just too much.
Right. Wow. I actually just went through a situation in a professional setting with a narcissist. And I can't say much more about that, but when I went to your book signing in New Jersey back in December, listening to you say some of these things put the lights on for me. And I thought, oh my gosh, this person, this professional colleague is a narcissist. So it plays out similarly in a work environment too, even when you're not romantically involved with someone.
And I think that's worse because what do you do?
Right? It's like
Fire
you can't.
them.
Yeah.
Well, if right, but if that's your boss.
Yes.
Right,
Well,
right.
yes.
So
Then
if you're not the boss.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
That one's
yes.
really tricky because I can't say to people in you know, with a clean conscience, like, oh yeah, just leave your job. I mean, it's like, well,
And what it
how am I
looked
going to
like
feed
was
myself?
no one spoke up.
Yeah.
They were just being abused.
So tell us about your book.
It is Narcissistic Abuse, a therapist's guide to identifying, escaping, and healing from toxic and manipulative people.
Wow.
Available at Amazon and Hachette. But it really aims to fuse the concepts of narcissistic abuse and cult abuse because I want to destigmatize this concept of like being in a cult, because there's just no way that somebody who I believe I'm a smart woman like myself was in a cult. So this idea that anybody can fall for this is really important to me. They don't necessarily have a type. They're going to cast out a bunch of lines, and if you don't know, you don't know. And you know, there are plenty of people that, you know, just don't know.
Right. Asking for a friend. How long do you think it takes one to get over being with a narcissist and like be open to dating again?
I think if you're doing the work, quite honestly, I think it takes 2 years. I've thought about this one. I think to get to a real healthy baseline and where you have like more of an empowerment, because the biggest issue with narcissists, quite honestly, is the post-separation abuse. It's not even during the relationship. It's oftentimes when you leave that they ramp it up. So you have to kind of go through that. And that takes a long time to wash out. They have to find a new supply, unfortunately. They have to find somebody to get distracted by, to kind of get their foot off your throat, this kind of thing. So I would say 2 years, and that's if you're doing the work. If you have a therapist or a life coach or a friend or family member who gets it, that you can just kind of like unload on for a good part of those 2 years.
Yeah. And so for you, because again, we know who's listening, what were your strengths? Like, how did you have the tools and the resources? Like, what did you tap into to get out?
Well, I think I mentioned this earlier. Can I curse?
Yeah.
I was fucking enraged that you took my time, that you made me leave my job, that you did all of this stuff to me, that my friends were nowhere to be found, and that you were befriending some of my friends. Like, I was enraged, and I oftentimes worry about the clients that come in that aren't, right? So these are people that would be very codependent. Maybe they grew up in a very religious environment. Be a good girl, be kind, caring, and they're wonderful people, but they're not angry. And I'm like, you have to get pissed.
Oh, I was angry. I went through a whole angry phase. Yeah.
But that's when I think you begin to get empowered, and then you like find yourself. But I think it's important to be angry in this realm.
And it's deserving.
Yes. So now that would you say you're on the other side of this?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, this was 6 years ago.
Oh, okay. So now that you're well on the other side of this, what do you do to stay well and maintain your sanity these days?
I'm working on a bunch of fun projects. I bought a house at the Jersey Shore, made some friends there. I still am very active. I'm at the gym. I run, I cycle, I swim, hang out with my son, my dog. I watch Love Island.
Nice. Love that.
All that stuff.
And we ask everyone on our podcast, Vanessa, what Welloff means to them. What do you think?
I think for me, it was freedom. I went through the court process for a number of years, and we had civil restraints. And it's very similar to an NDA, and they were very recently lifted. And anytime I think about any stress or trauma gets kicked up for me, I think about the freedom that I have now that they're not there, and I can feel my shoulders drop. I can feel my jaw unclench, my brow relax, it is the most soothing thing for me to know that I'm free.
Yeah.
Amen.
What a beautiful answer.
If we had martinis, we'd be cheersing.
That's right.
Cheers to you. Wow.
Before we wrap up, you have a podcast that you're starting up. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I'm going to be interviewing some of the heavy hitters in this space. I'm sure Dr. Z, Romany, Gretchen Carlson, who's really amazing. And it's called Narcissistic Abuse with Vanessa Reiser. And we're going to do something different. My co-host Dave and I are going to do the interview, but then we're going to do an episode after that where we just unpack the previous and talk all things politics and pop culture and just shoot the shit, kind of how you guys are doing it here. Yeah. And so, we're looking forward to that.
Good. And the launch date?
I'm not sure yet. We're still just building it out.
Okay.
But I did record with Tanya Bales yesterday. She was married to Dirty John.
Whoa.
She was the first wife, and she's amazing. She just wrote a book herself, actually. But so pretty soon.
Good. I love what you're doing, and love that there are so many people speaking up and putting this on our radar and labeling it, right? Because we have our saying in therapy, if you can name it, you can tame it. So if you can identify a behavior as narcissism or narcissistic abuse, then you can do something about it.
Yeah.
But if you don't know, or you're not sure, or nobody's talking about it, then you're stuck. So I just give you all the props and thank you for it.
Thank you.
As Lexi does, snaps and claps.
Snaps.
Snaps and claps. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing, parts of your story, and really this will help women that are in relationships or even just in the dating world to just kind of keep an eye out, because as you said, they're everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you.
How can we find you? How can our listeners find you?
Sure, I am at Tella therapist.net and at Vanessa Reiser LCSW on Instagram.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.